All right, let's dive into a piece of SEO that is, and I mean this, absolutely foundational, but so many people just kind of gloss over it. We're talking about web page schema. Think of it as the secret blueprint you hand over to search engines so they know exactly what your page is all about.
You've been there, right? You create this amazing page, the content is perfect, the design is slick, and then crickets. It just doesn't perform in the search results like you thought it would. Well, that frustration? A lot of the time, it's just a simple communication breakdown between your website and Google.
And that's exactly where web page schema comes into play. Now, this isn't some flashy new SEO trick that's going to be obsolete in 6 months. Nope, we're talking about the unsung hero of structured data. It's the core building block that makes sure Google hears you loud and clear right from the get-go.
So what is this thing really? The easiest way to think about it is like a digital business card for your page. For any page that isn't super specific, like it's not a blog post or a product page, your homepage, your About Us, your contact page, this schema hands Google the basic essential info. It's that first handshake that says, hey, here's who I am and what this page is for. Now, you're probably more familiar with what I call the flashy schema types. The FAQ or review schema that create those cool, eye-catching rich snippets right there in the search results. Web page schema is different. It's foundational. It's working behind the scenes, giving Google the core context that actually makes all those other flashy schemas work even better.
So what does this actually do for your site? I'm glad you asked. When you implement web page schema correctly, you basically unlock 5 secret superpowers for your pages. Superpower number 1? Better indexing, plain and simple. By telling a search crawler, hey, just so you know, this is a standard web page, you take all the guesswork out of it. And that means your content gets understood, indexed, and ranked way faster, and crucially, more accurately.
Second, it beefs up your search snippets. Now, to be clear, it's not going to magically create a rich snippet all by itself, but it acts as the perfect container that helps Google properly show off other cool elements, like those super helpful breadcrumb trails or the site links you see under a main search result.
The third superpower is all about giving Google deeper context. Web page schema helps its AI understand the real theme of your page on a much deeper semantic level. So what's the result for you? Your page starts getting matched with the right search queries from the right people. It's all about relevance.
And superpower number 4 is all about teamwork. This is huge. Web page schema is the perfect parent container where you can neatly nest other, more specific types of schema right inside of it. We're going to see exactly how cool this is in just a minute. And finally, number 5, you're literally future-proofing your SEO. Look, Google's algorithms are only getting smarter and relying more and more on structured data. By having this foundational piece in place now, you're setting yourself up to win with future updates. It's not a short-term trick, it's a long-term strategy.
Okay, so you get the why. You're on board. Now let's roll up our sleeves and get into the how. I'm going to walk you through a super simple 5-step plan to get this on your site.
So here's our roadmap. It's pretty straightforward. First, you just define what the page is for. Then you choose the right format, we'll talk about that. Add the basic info, nest other schemas if you need to, and last, but definitely not least, you have to validate your code.
When it comes to format, honestly, the choice is a no-brainer. Google itself recommends using JSON LD. And why is that? Well, because you can just drop a clean block of code onto your page without messing with any of your existing HTML. It's just so much easier to manage, and it's way less likely to break something.
And look, here's what it actually looks like. Don't let the code intimidate you. It's really simple. The @type line just tells Google, hey, this is a web page. Then you just fill in the blanks, the page's name, its URL, and a quick description. That's it. That's the bare bones version. But the real power, the real magic happens when we start building on top of that foundation. This is where we get into that nesting idea and how we can create this rich, interconnected web of information for search engines to understand.
Check out this example. See, we still have our main @type set to web page, but notice how, tucked inside of it, we've also got a breadcrumb property that holds a whole breadcrumb list schema and a publisher property that holds an organization schema. They're all connected, all in one place.
The absolute best way to picture this is to think of a file folder. The web page schema is the main folder itself, and then everything else, your breadcrumbs, your company info, maybe even an FAQ, those are like individual documents, all neatly organized inside that folder for Google to find.
Of course, anytime you're implementing code, there's a chance to make a few mistakes. So let's quickly run through some common pitfalls just to make sure you get this right the first time around.
Okay, the biggest mistake I see is a simple mismatch. Please don't use web page schema for a blog post. That's what the blog posting schema is specifically for. Also, don't go crazy nesting things that aren't relevant. And this sounds so basic, but you'd be surprised. Always double check that you've included the required fields like the page name and URL. And finally, never skip the validation step, ever.
And speaking of validation, don't just guess. Google gives us free tools, so let's use them. The Rich Results Test shows you what your page might actually look like in search. And the Schema Markup Validator will go through your code line by line. Use both. It's the only way to catch errors before you push it live. So, let's wrap this up. Look, web page schema isn't going to give you those instant, flashy results. That's just not its job. Its job is to be the solid, sturdy, reliable foundation that makes your entire SEO strategy stronger, more resilient, and way more effective in the long run. Getting this right is a huge first step toward building a website that search engines don't just crawl but truly understand. So now that you have the blueprint for the foundation, the big question is, what other essential blueprints might be missing from your SEO architecture?